A Long Day Sailing by Mac Davido. Last summer, I went to a 2-week-long camp at Camp Orkila that was centered around sailing. 8 kids and 2 counselors were together for 2 weeks, and all we did was sail around the San Juans on 2 J24 sailboats. Every day, we would get up, pack all our stuff, get on the boats, and set sail to the next island. Once we were there, we would take all the stuff to the new campsite and get it set up with tarps and a propane stove. It was a simple life. It was a good life. On like that every single day until the third to last. The day had started like any other. We got up, took down and rolled up the tarps, lugged all the gear down to the beach, used the bathroom that still smelled like the pine it was made out of, all the normal stuff. We took longer than normal getting the old, rusted, leaky rowboat in the water, then rowing everybody and everyone down to the boats, but we didn't think anything of it at the time. I was on Rochambeau with fresh paint and untarnished sails. The wind was excellent and the day was gonna be great. Our route for the day took us just west of Orkila Island. It was pretty early in the morning, so the currents were fairly strong against us, and the wind was a bit soft, but we had our motors and we knew we'd be fine. The dry grass on Orkila gently waved, and the other boats seemed to be going slower than usual. All the kids were sprawled out on the decks of the boats, napping to their heart's content. The counselors were in control of the boats, and Morgan, the counselor in charge of the boat I was on, was singing along to Piano Man or American Pie with her portable speaker and anyone who would join in. After we had gone by Obstruction Island, we decided to take a small detour. The wind was a lot better inside the islands, and we were feeling great. We sped right past Lopez, rail in the water, and we did a small regatta in between Lopez and San Juan. At this point, we were keeling over a lot, and I was brought right back to a few days before when we had the best sailing we had all trip. I discovered that when you're keeling far enough, it's possible to stand parallel to the boat, 1 foot on the rail and 1 on the safety line. That had ended pretty poorly because my friend Finn had been steering at the time. He was being a little bit of an idiot, and he pulled in the main sheet, causing the boat to keel even more, and my leg up to my knee to go straight into the water. The wind wasn't as great as it was that day, but we were able to get some speed up going down Lopez. We even started doing a few man-overboard drills. Morgan threw a fender into the water and forced us to sail back around and grab it. She threw it back in and again until everyone had gotten it. At the time, we had been planning on spending the night at Friday Harbor, but as soon as we got in, we saw that wouldn't be possible. There was no space available, not even one mooring or dock space at the biggest harbor in the San Juans. Getting desperate, we decided to try Jones at the bottom of Lopez. On the way there, we also checked Turn, but once again, no space. Wringing our hands and wiping our brows, we were reminded by camp via radio that we had to find a campsite by sundown. We sped on down to Jones, hoping for space because otherwise we'd be forced to sail all the way up to the camp-owned satellite island, which was all the way up past Orkila and would take at least a couple hours to get to, on top of the 5 hours we had already spent sailing. When we got to Jones, we held our breaths in anticipation, our sails already down and fenders already tied. No luck. All 3 of the moorings were taken up along with all the dock spaces. We would have to make the 4-hour journey back up to satellite. We didn't even bother putting our sails up, the wind had died completely. At this point, some of us started to get a little bit uneasy. After all, we had been cooped up next to the same people for nearly the entire day. Finn and I started to get into an argument about when we should tack. He said that we should turn sooner rather than later, but I disagreed. I knew that if we stayed on the same course for a while more, then tacked later, we would get to satellite faster. Eventually, the argument got so heated that he wrested control of the tiller from me, yelled, "Tacking!" and turned the boat across the wind. He gave us no time to prepare, and Addie, who was sitting right on the side of the cockpit, got knocked by the boom that had come flying straight around into the water. We all immediately freaked the hell out, watched this helpless girl flail about in the freezing Puget Sound, and prepared to lift her back into the boat. I believe that it was just karma for her losing a radio off the side of the boat, but it doesn't matter. We circled back around to get her, but it took us 2 tries to get her back into the boat. She had to go into the cabin and change into clothes from the hypo kit. Me and Finn were forced away from one another to think about our actions. That particular adventure might have taken more time than the counselors were comfortable with, but we were still able to get to satellite before sundown, but only just before. It was so close that we didn't even have time to set up a camp. We just cleared some space in the boats and went right to bed. It'd been a close call, but we had made it. Everyone was safe, if not necessarily comfortable. Joseph was getting a bit wet at the bottom of the boat, but we had all had our fill of sailing for a while.